Hello and welcome everyone to Beyond the Wind, the podcast about the Kingkiller Chronicles written by Patrick Rothfuss, where we reread the series chapter by chapter, discuss some theories, and just spend some time in the beautiful world of Tamrind. My name is Marcy, and again I'm joined with Leo.
Hello, Marcy. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Today we wanted to start a little bit with some fun stuff because we have some short chapters, chapter 24 and 25, and I thought we could do some kiss, marry, kill. Do you know this?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so I have a few pairs we can talk about. The first one is Auri, Denna, and Devi.
That's a good choice of person. Kiss, marry, kill, right? I'm thinking the one I would feel less bad about killing would be Denna, actually. But I will feel bad anyway.
Yeah.
It's just because I'm forced to do someone. The problem is we don't know Devi so good, but I mean the character Devi has interested me a lot from the beginning. So maybe I would be the most curious about marrying her, and I will kiss Auri.
Yeah,
because I have to.
because you have to. No, for me it was the same. Like, I think Auri, I can't kill Auri. She's too innocent.
Yeah.
And marrying her would also be probably a little bit. I mean, it can be pretty, but it's might be a wild card.
Yes.
And kissing is kind of innocent and cute, and I think she's cute. And yeah, for Devi, I also think she's fun, and yeah, I like her as a character. And if she does not get to prison for doing what she does, then I think it's a safe call to marry her. And yeah, Denna also is maybe a little bit too much of a wild card and would probably leave you behind someday. Okay, do you want another one?
Yeah, sure.
Let's go with Kvothe, Mayor Elveron, or Bast.
Which one was the second?
The Mayor Elveron.
The one in the second book that gets saved, or do I confuse something?
Yeah, exactly. So the one that Kvothe saves from poison and then does all the work for him. Yeah.
Wow, that's a tough one. After reading the Narrow Roads, the book about Bast, I think I will be inclined to marry Bast. I think it would be really fun. I'm not sure it's a good idea, but I don't think any of the three is a really good idea to marry.
Yeah.
And I think I will kiss Crows and kill the Mayor.
Okay, interesting. I haven't thought about this one before recording. I probably would kill Bast because he did some stuff that I don't agree with. And between Kvothe and Mayor Elrond, I don't know. I kind of like both character-wise. I think they both have flaws, but yeah, are still decent people. Maybe marry the Mayor Elrond, then you have some political power as well, and then kiss Kvothe.
Yeah, I think in the books about Bast, you can see that he lives by its principles. So it's very different than the principles that most people have. But when you get to see how it works for him, then it feels fair, and that's where I can imagine understanding him and living with the principles.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, next up, Elodin, Kilvin, or the Chancellor.
Maybe Kilvin seems like a really stable guy that could be a really good partner. So I think I would marry him. I think I wouldn't enjoy killing the Chancellor, so I would rather keep him alive. So I have to kiss him. And so that means Elodin has to die. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
it's funny because for me most of the time it's more about who do you marry and who do you kill, and in Kiss is like the other one.
Yeah,
but I don't know if you know about it, but I also know the version with not kissing but a bit more.
Yeah,
so,
sleep with her. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also know that version. Yeah, for me this combination, I think, yeah, for me also Elodin had to die, even though I think he's the most interesting character. But I thought maybe marry the Chancellor because I also liked him as a character very much. But Kilvin also is a very nice guy and has some good intentions. Okay, last one. Felurian, Vashette, or Fella? Do you remember Vashette? She's Quoth's teacher at the Adem.
Oh, yeah, now I remember. In the book, I don't know really why, but I always liked Fella a lot. And I always felt like I will like her in a real situation. And if I remember well, I felt that too about Vashette. But it was more culture shock because they have such a different culture. I don't mind so much about Felurian. I think Felurian will die if she can.
Yeah.
And maybe I will kiss Vashette and marry Fella.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, we think very similarly, but kiss and marry are switched for both of us. So I think Fella is a safe choice, definitely. But yeah, I kind of liked Vashette, and I think it's a little bit risky because of the cultural differences. But I liked her a lot as a character as well. So
yeah, and anyway, you fit really well in their culture. Also, I was pretty sure that you will do this this way.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, should we head to chapter 24?
Yes, sure. The chapter 24 is Shadow Themselves. It's a description about the time in Tarbean that Quoth spends in the next time, and it speaks about begging, it speaks about what he learned, and it speaks about an experience where he has the occasion to help someone but doesn't.
Yeah, it's a pretty dark chapter in the end, right? We'll come back to that later. Yeah, first thing that I found very interesting is that it's described that Kvothe learns how to pick a pocket or to slit a purse. And I found it really, really interesting how Rothfuss goes further in this book with that. Because there are situations where even I didn't notice that he, in this moment, kind of picked a pocket. I don't know if we have talked about this before, but there are 2 occasions where Kvothe feels that he's in danger, and one is when he goes to Devi and they have this big fight, and he uses sympathy to bind her, and then she resists and overwhelms him in the end. Do you remember this one?
Yes.
And the second one is at the Adem, where Vashette is angry with him and has to decide whether to kill him or further teach him. And this is the second situation. And after that, they go, I think he plays some music for her, and everything is fine. And in both of these situations, Kvothe visits them. And when he visits them, he falls on the doorstep, like he pretends to be falling and then puts a hand on their shoulder to stabilize. And this is all that's written. And it's like in one sentence. And me as a reader, I read it and yeah, okay, he slipped and fell a little bit and yeah, we go on. But it's super obvious if you know that in this moment he grabs a hair from them and uses them to have them as a sympathy link. So for Devi, it's very obvious because he has this Bags figure and he has then somehow a hair of her. So this is the moment where he gets it. And for Vashette, he didn't use it, so it's never like mentioned again that he has a hair of her. But of course, when he thinks that he might be killed, it's safe for him to have a hair of his potential murderer. So I like it very much that Rothfuss tells us how good he is at pickpocketing without telling us that. But yeah, with multiple read-throughs, you notice, oh, he's that good that even I didn't notice.
Yeah, that's true. But also, I was questioning how much does it help to be good at pickpocketing if you had to pick an hair, because picking hairs can be really tough depending on how the hairs are and how they are stylized. So, for example, some people have their hair really tight with the noses, so it would be really tough to take only one. And if you take like 10 hairs at the same time, that people will definitively hurt. So I'm curious about how much he had to train to special skill.
Yeah, but I think it's very similar from the how you do it. Like, I imagine if you pickpocket somebody on the street, you bump into them and then say sorry, sorry, and in this tight moment where you had contact with them, it seems not like they stole something from you, but like it was an incident or accident. And I think it's very the same. Like, he pretends that he falls into them and has this body contact already, so it's not so strange then in this moment. Then he has a chance to grab a hair.
But if I have to do this, I would imagine myself picking a bit too much hair and grabbing the whole head with me.
I'm sorry. How could that happen? Okay, yeah. Second thing that I found interesting in this chapter is that, I don't know if it's the first time mentioned here, but the Denna resin, so this drug about this, about the white eaters and who most of them do anything about it. Do you have anything interesting that you find about this?
I mean, obviously the name. It resembles Denna's name, which cannot be a coincidence. We know that Patrick Rothfuss likes to name anything close to Denna. I think that's a lot of words that we have that sound similar to Denna.
Yeah, I think we had some in the first chapters when Kvothe and Bast are talking in Fey language. We also had like some word that was explicitly Denna, and we were wondering what could that have meant. And yeah, here again, differently written, but it's pronounced basically the same.
Also, it's funny, we both have the same misprint where it's called Dinner instead of Denna. So with an I replacing the E. And that's funny because at first I didn't ask myself anything, so I had dinner risen, and it seemed like a nice thing. I imagine you eat dinner, and then at the end you have resin, and it's sweet, and it seems like a really nice dessert. But at the end of the paragraph, I think you understand what is it about. How do you imagine this drug? Do you think it's similar to something that we know?
Maybe I imagine it like the syrup that comes out from trees. So if you cut a tree, then it gets
maple syrup.
Yeah, maple syrup, of course, is a special one, but I think it's more liquid than I imagine. But yeah, somehow I think in the end, in the end of this book, where they are on this farm where Denna resin is made, I think it's very similar to how a maple syrup farm is. Yeah, where you have these trees and then you cut them and then you have some liquid coming out and then you make it harden somehow. How do you imagine it?
I really didn't know. Sometimes I think maybe you chew resin, but sometimes you can. I imagine it quite chewy, so I was maybe imagining that it will be some kind of chewing gum that you can chew and then you feel the thing that you do. And I was also asking myself how extreme of a drug it would feel. If it's something like weed where you feel a bit out of place, but you're still very functionable most of the time, or is it more something like crack, or I don't know, where you feel like very different than you do most of the time?
Yeah, it's described as a high dopamine situation where you are thinking that everything is great, and I don't know much about drugs, but I think it's could be like opium or phalum. I think it's even said that the medicine opium, or like, yeah, it might be said that opium is made out of this resin. I'm not sure. And yeah, just what I want to mention is that the similarity between Denna and Denna might be some foreshadowing that Denna, the person Denna, is like a drug for Kvothe, and she comes back and leaves and back and leaves, and he kind of can't get enough from her. And unfortunately, the drug probably would in the end be your doom. So it might be foreshadowing that the character of Denna will be Kvothe's doom as well. What do you think about this?
Yeah, it also feels like an unhealthy addiction for him. So at the time, in the first book, most of the time it will feel like an healthy addiction, but it will try, in the second book, it begins to shift.
How do you think that it begins to shift?
I think when they meet in Tarbean and get some kind of first fight, that's the first part where I was really worried that, oh no, it's not a love story. it's a very dramatic story. Not Tarbean, the city where he is with the Maya. I confused it.
Yeah.
I don't remember the name.
Saruran? Might be 7. Yeah, but for me at least, it didn't felt like a toxic relationship. I think, yeah, he's kind of in love and does some crazy thing. Maybe I can very very well connect to Kvothe in that situation. If you see a person who gets maybe beaten up by a stranger, or a person that you think is wrong for that person, it's very hard what to do, right? Because yeah, if you think a friend of yours maybe is doing some stuff that you think is wrong, but he's still your friend and you kind of don't want to hurt him or trust him, and it's not so easy how to react in this situation, I think. Okay, what else do we have in this chapter?
In this chapter, generally, I'm maybe the biggest problem I have with the series is that it pictures maybe a too soft image of a traumatic experience. Quoth is at the deepest point in its life at this time right now. Is barely surviving and is going through big problems mentally, and it doesn't even feel that negative. Like he tells it about what he learned, and every time he say it's painful, it's unpleasant, but I still feel like it's not told in a negative enough way. So we have the problem that Quoth comes back from it even stronger, and he knows more, he has more skills, and most of the time. And if I imagine myself going through a traumatic experience, I would imagine myself coming back weaker than I was before and losing skills and losing capacities in general. So I think I would have liked the book a little bit more if Quoth was a little less resilient and a little more realistic to me.
Okay, yeah, I kind of can understand that, of course, but I still see also the situation as it is. Of course, last chapter, or before that, he really got beaten up badly, and then he was really sick and got mended by Trappist. And yeah, then we now see like a quick summary of 3 years, and yeah, he managed to survive somehow. And of course, it could be described that he is mentally also just much worse and not holding on. But then I had written down 3 years happened, and Quill seems to be in the exact same place that he has been, and that's very strange. So maybe this kind of compensates what you said, that he should have been worse off, and I thought he should have been better off, because Quoth, he's such a quick learner, right? And Ben said if he becomes a merchant, then he will be owning half the world within 10 years. Or if he becomes like this, then he will be, yeah, the best of the best in it. And for me, it was like, yeah, if he becomes a street boy, or he becomes a beggar, then he will be the best. He will be doing the best begging and earning so much money and stuff. But he was very, yeah, very basic. Like, he had a little bit money, but still very basic. And yeah, I think it's very funny that you think he should be worse off. I think he should be better off. And we kind of meet in the middle, where he is kind of in a stable situation and, yeah, has like a little bit money.
And at least in the last part of the chapter, there's an experience where we get to see that Quoth is not so well off because he doesn't want to give up the things that he have. He sees some boy getting chased and getting caught too, and I mean, we imagine that they will start to beat up the kid and so on and so on. And he sees that he has a brick that he could throw at them, and they think about it, and it doesn't do it. It chooses to not throw the brick, to not intervene, and to keep his safe space between the three roofs and staying in a warm place. And I think it's the first time that we see Quoth taking a decision that's very clearly the one that's for him and not for anyone else, right?
Yeah, but it's a tough decision. So I don't know what I have chosen. Of course, you somehow want to be the guy that helps the helpless. But I mean, he is 12, 13, 15, 14, 15 maybe in this chapter. And if there are three guys that are much older than him, and he said it himself. If he helps, then they will steal his home, they will steal everything he has, they will beat him up, and yeah, that's tough. So I at least don't fault him for this here.
Yeah, for sure. But we have known Crows being a bit not very careful sometimes, so we could have very well imagined him not thinking about it and just going in.
Yeah. And I mean, he says that I think it's in the next chapter, he says, like, he regrets it so much that he did not help this boy. So he said, like, bones mend, but regrets don't fade away. And I think this speaks for his character that, yeah, it really is tough for him that he didn't help this boy in this situation.
Mm-hmm.
Also, that I was wondering, because when I reread this week, I didn't recall it that I had this memory before, and I'm not too sure if I understand it correctly. But do you think that the boys are raping the kid, or just beating him up? Because I understood that they raped him, and also Kvothe said that he was caught one time as well. And this would be also a very traumatic experience. And yeah, I didn't remember that Kvothe might have been raped at some point in his life.
Yeah, I don't think I will read the exact sentence because of how triggering this can be, but the description makes it very easy to think about a rape. You are right.
Yeah. And yeah, I think in this regard, I might agree with your statement that he should be a little bit worse off, because yeah, that's some really tough situation. But yeah, I guess being in the streets and being all alone, he still says that he had scars and he had to heal it. He is a boy that is still in pain from the trauma of losing his family, and maybe he is just already at the bottom of what he can be, and yeah, still managed to survive something, but somehow, but in his mind, he's still very numb.
Yeah. Most of the time, what we see with kids is that they start to blame themselves. And we hear that with Quills a little bit, that he feels guilty about being alive while his whole family is dead. What we see most of the time with kids is that they try to start punishing themselves for it. And that we haven't seen about Quills any time that he really punishes himself about it. So he has the guilt, but it doesn't act on it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, I have nothing else for this chapter, and we kind of talked about chapter 25 a little bit, or we just mentioned a little bit. Should we just head to chapter 25?
Yeah, sure. It's an interlude, the eager for reasons. At this point, Quo stops telling about the story and he makes a pause, and there's a little bit of a dialogue between Bast Crows and the chronicler.
Yeah, it's, of course, I stopped about this dark story of this little boy that was caught by the older ones. And Chronicler says that there was nothing that he could have done. And Kvothe disagrees. He said, no, I could have. He made this choice, and I regret it to this day. Bones mend, regret stays with you forever. And that's, yeah, somehow something very powerful.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and there is some kind of silence, some kind of awkward being around because Crows is still processing, I guess, and Chronicler and Bass are also processing how much of a negative experience they are being told. I mean, in real time, maybe it's been like only 15 minutes since they have been told that the Squirrel's parents have been killed. So maybe it's a lot for them too right now.
And Bast asked Kvothe why he didn't went back to Hellowfell to Ben. And Kvothe said that it's hundreds of miles, no map, no shoes. And he said that it might be a possible trip, but not for a young child still numb with the shock of losing his parents. So this might also be a reason why he isn't, as I thought he would be, being the best beggar and getting trades, and then I don't know, within 3 years he should own a house or something, or perform some music or some stuff, and just be much better than he is.
And doing a YouTube video about it. Oh, I traded a penny to a house in 3 days.
Exactly. And yeah, this is just the reason, right? He is just still in deep shock.
Yeah, I think it's really good that this was included, because it's a very natural thought to think that he could have gone to Ep12, but I like the explanation. And to me, it's very realistic that he couldn't have, and that he wasn't in the mental place too, even if he could have.
Yeah. And he said that Tarbean, it was maybe not a home, but it was a safe space for him. Like, he could beg there, he could steal there. In the winter in the woods might be more difficult than in Tarbean.
Yeah, I think safe is a bit of a stretch, but yeah, we get what they mean.
Yeah. Yeah, he says that it's far too easy to stay in the familiar ruts we dig for ourselves. So even if it's bad, if it's familiar, it's still better than something unfamiliar, but maybe slightly better if you don't know that it's slightly better.
And at the end of the chapter, there is some kind of cliffhanger. And I wanted to ask you, there is not a lot of cliffhanger in this book, right? Most of the time when the chapter are finished, it's a closed thing, and you are asking yourself what comes next. And most of the time you don't know. But this time, for the first time, we are very clear about what's going to happen, because the last line is, before I met Scarpy.
He said, I needed to be reminded of things I had forgotten. I needed a reason to leave. It was years before I met someone who could do those things. Before I met Scarpy.
Do you enjoy the cliffhanging in books?
I think in this case I do. I found it interesting here. Yeah. I don't know in general. I mean, I remember that if you have watched it, Prison Break. So the series Prison Break always ended on a cliffhanger. So
yeah,
I was then kind of addicted to go to the next one. And another series that I really, really like is Avatar: The Last Airbender. And they do not often, they conclude very much for each episode. And I don't know, for me, these episodes, they feel like a little bit more comfortable maybe. And if I want to rewatch something, then I easily can rewatch a single episode. But yeah, with the cliffhanger stuff, I think it's more interesting maybe to go through the whole season. But then it's very different for me. How was it for you?
Yeah, for me, a cliffhanger very dangerous, because, for example, I will read before bedtime, and it can be hard to stop. So you're reading a chapter, and of course you don't stop in the middle of a chapter if you want to read it at the time. And then at the end of the chapter, maybe there's a cliffhanger, so you do another chapter, and then again and again, and sometimes you can be a bit stuck. So sometimes it's a bit unhealthy for me, and I get frustrated when I see cliffhanger, because I think, no, I just can't stop. It's not possible. But I really enjoy when books have a default that's not cliffhanging, that's like normal concluding chapter. But sometimes a little bit of cliffhanging can be really nice.
It gives you, it's like a little bit of a powerful moment, and it makes it substantial, more substantial. So the saying that we will meet Scarpy means, okay, this was a clear event in his life that changed his life.
Yeah, and really it can be easy to underestimate how much of an impact has Scarpy on Quoth. So it's good to have the cliffhanging moment to know, oh, that's really a big deal. It changes mind.
Okay, yeah, I guess we will get to Scarpy next week. But for this chapter, I think that's it, right?
Yeah. I have 2 questions that I want to ask you to close this episode. They are would you rather questions. Are you ready? The first one is, would you rather be really good in sympathy in our world, or be really good at technology in Temerant?
That's interesting. I think the question would be more in which world I would rather live, because if I am very good at one of those things, I think I just would be a successful person. So would I rather be a successful person in this world or in the other one? I think if I could choose right now, maybe I would I would say I would leave this world and go to Tamarind because, yeah, I don't know. I'm not too happy maybe about the situation in this world right now. And I would be ready for some adventure and leave and go to Tamarind. How about you?
I think if my goal would be world domination, I think having technology in Timberland is really powerful. If you have technology, you can sell goods, you can have weapons, and you can gather people and stuff. If you have sympathy in this world, I'm not sure you're that powerful. I think it's a cool thing to do, and maybe you can do a cool school about it and teach people about to do it, and it will be really nice. But I'm not sure it will be like world changing. So I think, but I don't think my goal is world domination, so it's okay.
Good that you elaborated on this topic for so long, but no, I don't want world domination. I mean, I could do this and that and this and also this, but no, I don't want it.
Yeah, at least I have thought about it, and I think most of the time I'm thankful about the world that we have in comparison with other world that seems most likely like in the past what technologies and stuff, because most of the time, even if there is a lot of devious process in the progress, there's also a lot of progress that's really nice to have, and I am very
Definitely.
thankful for a lot of the things we have.
Yeah, me too. I'm also thankful about this as well. And also, if people ask, would you rather live in the past? I always say no. I would stick here or maybe go to the future because I'm very optimistic that it is the best time and the future will be a better time as well than it is right now. But for me, the world of Tamarind feels just like if I could go on an adventure and just explore the world. And because there's also a lot of like fantasy stuff, right? So the Fey world, and there's just more magic to it. And there are places that are very, very different in culture. Like the Eight Dam is, they are very, very different. And I feel like, yeah, exploring this new world, even though I agree the situation or the stuff that you have there is definitely not better than it is here, I would go to Tamarind right now.
Okay, I have a second question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Would you rather know for sure that there will never be a third book, or would you rather stay in the situation we are in?
Oh no. Oh no. Nah, hope is a good thing, I think. I think yeah, hope is, I don't know if you know the legend of Pandora's box, where in Pandora's box there are, I don't know the exact story, but there are many demons or many bad things that are then opened, the box is opened and then bad things are unleashed to the
Yes.
world, but hope still stays in the box or something. And hope is that it's the worst of all. It is the worst thing that can happen to humanity, because if you have hope, then you are still trying to resist or try to live in these bad situations, but you don't get out of it because you're still hoping that it will be better. And yeah, it's a it's a really bad thing. But I don't know. I think if I knew that there will not be a third book, that would make me sad. How about you?
I think maybe as I was reading them, or maybe when I was just finished, I would have maybe liked to would have known that there's no third book, and that would be like a close thing, and I would have read the two books as if it was like a two-book series. Maybe it would have been even more cooler. But now that I've read them a few years ago, I don't mind about the third book not being there, so I'm fine without it. So I can take the hope of having one.
Yeah, of course. That makes totally sense. It's for me very similar. I like rereading them, and of course there are times where I think, oh man, I really, really want book 3, but most of the time it's just, yeah, it's all right. I can wait another 5 years, but maybe not more than that. All right, yeah, those were some fun questions you had. Okay, I think this is it for today's episode, right?
Yes, it was really nice talking with you, and I'm looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, see you then. Bye.
Bye.